probably the same as most. You're a kid, you're looking through books, you see one, and it's like, oh my God, what is this thing? And it's like, oh, green python from Australia. It's like, okay, well, it's from Australia. I'm probably never going to own one. And yeah, just being a kid with a part-time job, couldn't afford one anyway. So it was just always on the back burner. And then got a little older and started making some money and came across some and picked them up. And yeah, I never looked back. They'll always be a staple here, I think. But yeah, just seeing them in the books. And it's like, wow, that's crazy. Just a nice bright green snake out in the open, just not giving a damn about anything. And yeah, and then you see them in real life, and those pictures from the 80s don't do them any justice, that's for sure. They've been my favorite probably since I was a little kid, and haven't really been able to afford them until I was an adult. So yeah, and then I was lucky enough to get a bunch and breed some, and they're just here for good. I think they're just a nice display animal. It's very rarely that they're hidden. I have noticed that Neos will hang out in like hollows and cork bark and stuff, but other than that, they're usually just out in the open, and they're just always on display. It's just, I just like them. You don't have to reach in and lift up hides or dig around for them. They're just bam in your face all the time. I do some naturalistic setups with them as well, and they just pop. I don't know what to say. They're just awesome. Yes and no. Basically same habitat, rainforesty. Some of the subspecies of Uroplatus, like the Lineatus, I find they like it a lot more humid, a lot more wet. I'm spraying them down. I run automatic misters on the Uros, but the Lineatus get an extra couple sprays every week or whatever. They're more from the bamboo forest, so I keep them a little bit wetter than the other guys. I keep my Uros few degrees cooler, probably 5 to 10 degrees cooler than the chondros, depending. I could throw a chondro in a Uro setup and a Uro in a chondro setup, and it wouldn't make any difference, besides humidity and then just dropping a couple degrees temperature. And that's one of the pains of keeping the two species, because I can't keep them in the same room. I keep a lot of Morelia and blood pythons and stuff, and those guys I can all keep in the same room. The Uroplatus and some of the frogs have to be kept in a separate room. I just keep the temperatures a bit cooler with them. They're not too different. Just temperature wise is mostly the main thing with them, though, I find. The only problem is in Canada, you don't find there's not a lot of captive bred, so you're buying a lot of imported animals, and like with the mossy leaf tails, I can't keep alive. I had a huge group of them, and I've lost every single one of them. The parasites, whatever, they look good, they do good, they thrive for a couple months, and then just within days they shrivel and die, which is a total shame. But yeah, the mossies are the only ones I've ever had problems with. I keep the Hankles, I breed them. The Fimbriatus started breeding for me again this year. The Lineatus I breed. I got some eggs cooking to those right now. But yeah, just the mossies are just a nightmare for me for whatever reason it is. I didn't think I'd like them when I was like, maybe I'll get some Lineatus, but I'm like, I don't know if I really like them. They don't really appeal to me. And then I got some and I was like, oh man, these things are so rad. Just during the day, they just lay flat on the bamboo. Nothing special, but as soon as those lights go out and they fire up, oh man, they get the bright red eyes. They're gorgeous. They're probably my favorite Uroplatus species now. There's something special at nighttime, that's for sure, especially females. I think not enough research, and I think people buy them on a whim. It's like, oh, this looks really cool, I'm gonna buy this and bring it home, and then not realize like how temperamental they can be. Like I say, with the mossies, they'll be fine, and then within 3 days they're shriveled up and dead. Like they drop quick. I think a lot of people just buy them on a whim without having a proper setup and parameters in place before they bring them home, which is, I'm guilty of that as well for some things. So I'm not going to preach about it, but I know lots of guys, and I see in all the forums and stuff, like, oh, I just got this new chondro and brought it home today and it hasn't eaten. It's like, dude, you just got it. Like everything. Impatience is another thing as well. Also buying good stock. I know you guys have access to a lot more stuff than we do up here. Like we have a lot of import stuff, and the extra few days on the trip of just getting imported into Canada is detrimental for some species and a pain in the ass. And if you don't know what you're doing, then you're just setting yourself up for failure, and then you lose interest in it right away, and you just have a bad experience with it. And I find guys will get advice in forums, and there's good guys out there. Like there's a lot of guys that have helped me out over the years, and very appreciative of it. But then a lot of guys will just go in there and just say, oh, this is how I do it, this is how I do it, and then it doesn't work for everybody else. Like even the way I run my stuff, I do my chondros with ambient temperatures instead of using like RPH, stuff like that. I do it that way. It works for me. It always has. Whereas somebody 1,000 miles from here, that might not work for them, depending on where you live or your humidity of where you live, stuff like that. I think not enough research, maybe too much on a whim, and not buying properly established animals is probably where a lot of guys might have issues with. Even to get an import, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
Most dudes are spending a week's pay on it, and they get the thing home, and it's just a shit show, right? So, I wish we could get $350 here. I'd have a lot more. For me, it hasn't really been an issue anyway. Like I say, like I do all my research and stuff, and like, you know what I mean? Like I seen chondros when I was a little kid, so it's always been like, oh, every time I see something, I'll read up about them. Definitely with the Uroplatus, definitely humidity. They dry out pretty quick, and then you get into bad sheds. Your little toe pads get full of dried skin, and it's just not good. They dehydrate quick. Chondros, if you have your setups done and you're on point, an established chondro is pretty much a bulletproof snake. I know there's guys out there that don't want people to believe that, but over the years, I've had literally one adult die on me. It was an import that came in, sat in a pet store for a year. I got it home and it was dehydrated kidney failure. Other than that, I have bought a lot of imports, and I'll bring them home, quarantine them, establish them, and I haven't had any really issues with them. But you know what I mean? Like I get my parameters in check, do my research. Other than that, no issues. The Uroplatus though, they come in and it could be a plethora of things. They just drop off. Sometimes no matter what you do, just one of those things, I guess. Back in the day, there wasn't a whole lot of information about them available. Like I'm pretty old now, so we didn't have the internet back then. And I bought some imported satanic leaf tails, some Fantasticas from a show. And when you're a kid working part-time in the kitchen making peanuts, and you go to a show and you spend, $300 on a lizard and you bring it home, you're like, all right, this is cool. I'm going to set this up. And I've seen pictures in books. I know, like, whatever. And you set them up, and then you realize, oh yeah, by the way, you don't keep them at 85 degrees. And then, so I lost a few animals when I first started out doing that. A lot of satanics and ebonawis when I was a younger little lad. I think the heat was the biggest issue. But then after that, I was fine with them. I didn't really have any learning curves with the chondros. I've always just, every time I've seen anything, I've just been reading up about it. And also there's been a few cool dudes like in the hobby, like I'd post pictures or whatever, and they'd be like, dude, maybe you shouldn't do this. Or, you know what I mean? They're pretty cool about it. And, they send me DMs and stuff instead of putting me on blast. So I appreciated that very much. And I've met a lot of cool guys in the chondro community, just talking over the internet, Facebook, Instagram, and whatnot. But other than that, I haven't had any learning curves with the chondros. Maybe with some neos, getting neos feeding third nightmare. But even that's fun once you get going, but it's a little stressful at the beginning. But yeah, just the temperatures and stuff with the Euros, keep them too warm, not humid enough, and running into issues with them. But that was about it. If I was going to tell anybody to start out with something, it'd probably be Fimbriatus. They seem pretty tough. Probably one of the more inexpensive ones. They do get a good size. You need a good size cage for them. But yeah, I'd probably say Fimbriatus. They're just a big, stout animal. Like mine are like a foot long now, and just impressive critters. They do eat a ton, though. That's the only pain in the ass with them. You know what I mean? You have good luck with them, and then branch off to some of the more harder to get ones, like Hankles or little satanics. Lineatus, though, the Lineatus I've got have all been bulletproof. They're awesome guys, and they're all Wildcats imports. Haven't had any issues at all. I've never lost one. They're laying eggs now. They haven't laid any duds yet. It's all been good eggs. So probably definitely Fimbriatus to start out. I find they take a little bit more to the handling. You can take them out every once in a while. I handle all my animals anyway, and I'm surprised nobody's been like, what are you doing? Why do you do that? You suck. But yeah, I'm pretty hands-on with all my stuff too, and the Fims are I'd probably recommend a Fim for sure. I was waiting too. I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be some funny Canadian question. None really. Not for me anyway. I live so far down south. Like I'm pretty much on the same latitude as Northern California and like Southern Oregon. I think that's what it's called, Oregon. The only real issue I have is humidity. Like it is dry as a bone. So just a little extra spraying, bigger water bowls. Just make sure the bowls are topped up. Overflow the bowls once in a while. Yeah, humidity. Like today it was 10 degrees, so it was 50 Fahrenheit here today. Went to the store tonight after dinner, and I pretty much could just wear shorts to the store. So it's not too horrible here. Further up north, like houses are pretty good insulated here, so we don't really run into any issues. And you know what I mean? Like there's good heating products and stuff now for your terrariums and stuff like that. So I haven't really had any real hurdles. If anything, it works out better because you just turn your heat down a little bit. You don't have to worry about trying to control your temperatures to drop them for any kind of breeding or anything like that. The biggest issue is trying to keep the temperature low enough because I can't run an air conditioner in the wintertime. And then when it's like 10 degrees outside, so then my place ends up heating up a few extra degrees. So then that's going from 75 back up to 78 or 80. And it's just like, oh, now I got to crack a window. But yeah, I haven't really had any issues per se here. People further up north and stuff that keep, You know what I mean? Like they just have dedicated rooms that they heat with like oil heaters. I have an oil heater as well here, but it's usually just on low, if anything. So yeah, like it's not too hard. Just, you know what I mean? You get some good equipment, and I haven't really had anybody complain about anything. There's been a few power outages up north where guys have lost some animals, which is a shame, but you know what I mean? It'd be the same as what happened in Texas a couple of years ago or last year, whatever it was, when they were getting snow, and it's like, what the heck? So nothing too major that hasn't been able to be handled. Just trying to keep that temperature a little bit lower sometimes during breeding season when we get a little heat wave like we have this week. Dude, I don't live in an igloo and I don't have a dog sled. And, you know, it's... I do. I like having diversity. I mean, if you're just a hobbyist, it's like, I'm going to have some bearded dragons or leopard geckos or whatever. Yeah, there's no need for diversity, I don't think. If you're a serious hobbyist, well, yeah, absolutely. I'm kind of a hands-on learner as well, too. So my collection, it rotates quite a bit. Like I have my staples, like the Uroplatus, the chondros, obviously. I got blood pythons that I'll have. I just got into monkey tail skinks. So there's a few things that'll be staples, but then I like to rotate and get new things and try new things out. I think for me, I like the diversity because I'm always learning about different things. I think I'd probably it'd be a stagnant for me if I just kept like one thing. So yeah, I think diversity is important for me, but it might not be for my neighbor, right? Some people could be content with just keeping one or two animals. I do believe that people that have large collections of one animal, that might not be so uncommon, should absolutely pick up something a little less common and work with it as well. Especially like with them starting, if they ever shut down borders, clear cutting animals, going on to CITES lists and stuff like that. I think that breeding a few different things is imperative to keep the pet trade alive. And especially with you guys dealing with the Lacey Act and everything now too, like who knows where this is going to be in another 10 years, even 5 years. So I think if you're a serious hobbyist and breeder, even if you're just breeding like one thing, maybe just like, hey, let's just pick up something on the side, just kind of, you know, have something else to do and keep that a little more open for options for what's going to be available in the pet trade in the next 10 years or whatever, right? But yeah, I think for myself, diversity is great. And, you know, I just started getting these little frogs and stuff, and they're a pain in my ass, but I don't know, it's fun. I enjoy it. I enjoy 99% of reptiles and amphibians and stuff. And I kind of keep what I can handle on my own. Sometimes it gets a little crazy, but I've kind of tuned back a little bit and not kept so much stuff and just concentrated on what I do have. And then, yeah, just rotate things a few times and every once in a while and try my hand at different things. And then, you know what I mean? Then when something comes up and it's like, oh, hey, this is available or whatever. And instead of being like, well, shit, I don't know if I can get it. You've got things that are the same, right? Like it's almost like a basic knowledge that you can carry on to other species, I guess you'd kind of say that.